Black and white thinking versus gray thinking. I'll quote Tony from Boston, and here's his problem with Christianity. To me, it's a religion that is absolute. So they'd say that's the problem. That's the problem. Christians think in terms of black and white, not shades of gray. There's not gray areas within evangelical Christianity. It's black or white, correct or wrong. It's interesting listening to all of us say what the middle ground is, even in our wording of things. We weren't thinking middle ground of things. We were judgmental of them. Tony says, it's interesting. Christians are judgmental and they bother us, so we judge them. It's an interesting observation from a hypocrite. Maybe I'm doing it myself by saying black and white, but that's to me just a statement of fact that's neutral. Some people may be fine with being black and white. Some people prefer shades of gray. It doesn't make one thing more correct than the other. So here is what Tony is saying, and it summarizes many of the conversations in all of the cities. Christians think black and white, and that's wrong. Everything is gray. There is no ultimate right or wrong. And he says, my problem with Christianity is it's black and white, not gray. Two things I'll point out. Number one, to think that way, you're making a black and white statement. Are Christians good or bad? They're bad. Oh, so they're not gray. They're not gray. No. I believe in gray, and for sure, black and white, they're wrong. So what is your problem? They have absolute beliefs. Are you absolutely sure they're wrong? Yes, I am. Okay? Right? If you're sober, you're getting this, okay? So Tony goes on to say, here's what Tony says, and I'm just quoting Tony. Personally, in my life, I don't have any room for evangelical beliefs. I'd like to say it's because I'm logical. I have faith entirely in myself. That's an interesting statement. We have faith in Jesus. Tony has faith in Tony. We're both trusting one guy. I'm just going to say my guy's a better choice. That's all. I don't have the same beliefs, but to give it to somebody else, just to have an open mind. If something feels wrong with it, then back out. When I dump it, he says, when I say dump it, Christianity, he says, quote, that's my black and white response. Tony says, I only believe in gray, but when it comes to Christianity, dump it, that's my black and white response. So here's what happens is, both Christians and non-Christians, we use black and white thinking. Christians and non-Christians will say that certain things are wrong, and we get upset about it. That's why there's pickets and protests and social media posts and lots of cultural upheaval. But what happens is we tend to think gray is for me, black and white is for you. So I'm going to show you what's wrong with you, but you can't judge me. This is the hypocrisy. This is the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is gray for me, black and white for you. You're wrong, I'm right. You can't judge me. There is no right and wrong. And so what I learned as I was reading the transcripts, 400 pages over and over and over and over and over, I found that every time somebody would make a black and white judgment against Christianity, they would use a verbal qualifier. Let me read them to you. I think, I feel, for me, to me, I personally believe, not to judge. Do you know what somebody does right before they judge? They say, not to judge. In my opinion, personally, from my perspective, in my experience, I believe my belief system not to be stereotypical, not to be judgmental, from my understanding, in my mind, in my life, in my case, and I try not to be judgmental, but. Do you know what the difference between, in my personal opinion, from my experience, I think you're an idiot, versus you're an idiot? Do you know what the difference is? Nothing. This one just used more words and took more time. That's the only difference. So what happens is everybody's judging everybody, and some people say that there is no judgment, so then we have to put verbal qualifiers, which is just a lot of smoke and a lot of theatrics and a lot of illusion.